we shall do lesson number 3.3 in your textbooks, note making. That's on page 147. Let's go through the icebreakers which introduce us to the topic. Complete the web. You see that web there with the green, and in the middle there's that we take notes of. So what things do we take notes of? One thing is given there, speech by the person making a speech. It may be on the topic from your syllabus. So while the person is speaking, you jot down notes. So we make notes for speeches. Where else do we make notes for? So think of various things when you take notes and write that. Now you're looking at online, English not so much, but in the other subjects and online classes are going on. Maybe you feel like taking notes. So different things when you take notes or make notes. Now discuss in groups why you take notes. So what are the different reasons for which we take notes? Think of the various things that you can think of for taking notes. Why do you do that? Why do you do that? Better notes will help you remember concepts, develop meaningful learning skills, and gain better understanding of a topic. Discuss in groups different styles or methods you use in your note making or taking. For example, to underline important facts. Now let's go to the chapter itself. Note making. Note making and note taking. Both the skills are totally different. Note taking is a passive process which is undertaken during lectures. Why do you say passive? It means you're listening and taking down something. You're making notes while listening. Something is coming to you, someone is talking to you, and based on that you take notes. Note taking at a glance gives a complete view of a paragraph or any content which contains the main points and supporting details of what is heard during lectures or a speech. So, what is said there, you put down in short points the main ideas as well as the supporting details. So, in a way, in one glance, you get a complete idea of what that speech or lecture was about. Taking notes while reading from different books and present for different purposes. So, while reading, also you take down notes, words or phrases or a concept. So while either listening or reading, you can take notes. Note making is a more active and focused writing skill, where a concrete connection between all the relevant concepts and words is drawn to infuse or connect all thoughts together by a method. So for example, either in points, with subpoints, or a tree diagram with branches and sub-branches, or a table, etc. So a note making is more you're active. You are doing something. Maybe you got all the material already from having taken notes. Then you sit and organize and sort out those notes in a way which you want to lead to what you want to talk about or you want to deliver, either a lecture or a speech or whatever. So thus one is active and one is passive. These are the differences between note-taking and note-making. Now, what are the similarities? Both provide the students with material for easy reference, preparation, and study during an examination. So when you have your points, you made your notes, you don't have to read the entire chapter again and again. You go through your points, you recollect what was written or spoken about that, and that helps you in your preparation. So you don't have to each time go, you can refer to it easily. Whatever was said there is in your notes. Both aid, that is help, the students in remembering facts more easily as it utilizes both reading and listening senses. So both one, the taking would be listening or reading, and the other one also would be doing the same. Then both have the same purpose, that is for the students to excel in their studies. So the purpose of it is that whatever you're studying, whether you're student in class 9 or 10, or a college student, or a PhD student, or a postdoctoral research student, whatever your state be. But in that, this method helps you to read, understand better, and remember better what you have learned, or refer to it very easily without having to look for it again in that chapter or whatever. Both help the student to concentrate better and effectively because it catches your eyes. The main concepts catch your eyes immediately, and that helps you to concentrate better. Now, what is said here is in a way given in the form of a chart or a box. Note taking, and note making. See, they give the ideas in very succinctly, or easily, clearly, and in brief. Only jotting down points involves no sight interpretation. So, jotting down points. Whereas the other helps students to see each point clearly along with its link or connection with each other. Here were just points mentioned, but when you make notes, you connect those points by words, of course. So you show either by arrows or either in a symbolic way or by send words. You show a connection from one point to the next. Then very little changes are required. Whereas here in note making, it's easier to change the notes made. Because you just grab out something and change the notes that you've made. Taking points from one source at a time. So here you're taking points from either a lecture or a speech or a class or a book, whatever. So one thing at a time. You take first from that. Whereas in the other, it involves taking of points from different sources. So in the first, you're reading a book. You collect the points from that book. You go to a lecture. On the same topic, you hear a lecture. You make points on those. So you collect all those points and then you make your notes. So your making of notes is based on these different sources from which you have collected your points to put them now all in a logical order or chronological order depending on the subject, and in an order which helps you to understand, to flow from one point to the next meaningfully. So in note taking, there's less understanding, it's more concepts that you list. Whereas in note making, there's an understanding of those concepts and the interrelationship between those concepts. Points or notes are written in full form. Points given by sources are taken directly. Whereas your note making is often in short form. So you do not write the whole word, you will use short forms of different words to save your time. Whereas here in notes, you would write the full point of the note. Whereas there you write in short forms the connection between them. Or as I said, draw it symbolically with an arrow or a minus sign or a plus sign or whatever. It only gives, note taking only gives the early configuration for the whole topic. So this is just the basic, the primary level or the first level of your study. Taking notes, collecting material, you would say. Accurate material and written out accurately, therefore in full form. A little earlier they said points are written in full form. It's just one word, you won't know what is said about the word. So you have to write point in full form. Whereas here it helps students in capturing the main key. So the main idea, the main key is seen through the movement from one point to the other, which we see in note making. And finally, notes are made from sources. They are handmade since the time available is limited. So when you're listening to maybe on the radio to a lecture on radio or on video, so then you don't have time to write in full. No. So that's why they are handmade. As you listen, you write down. Whereas note making, they're constructed by the learner themselves. So you've collected all the things and you put it in the order in which you want, with connections between one point and the other. So you make a point connected to the next point. Therefore, the second point is somehow connected with the first point, and it goes on that way. So it's constructed by the lecturer themselves, handmade or in computer type form. But it's all therefore written or typed by the student themselves, the learner, whoever the learner is. Now there are different styles of note making. tables, charts, bar charts, pie charts, flow charts, then line graphs, tree diagrams, pictograms, maps, plans. So all these are the different ways in which notes are made. You have one key idea, and then it's going through, then it branches into sub-main ideas, then into sub-ideas from those main branches, and it can go on branching, and then you understand how one idea goes into different areas. So that's one more important thing about note making. Now here we have a small essay on Ayurvedic medicine facts. Now this is a topic, and they will demonstrate how you make notes. Okay? Fundamentals of Ayurvedic medicine. To understand Ayurvedic treatment, it is essential to have an idea of how the Ayurvedic system regards the human body. So how does Ayurveda look at the body? It may be very different from allopathy. The basic life force in the body is prana. So they see the root life force in the body, which is called prana, which is also found in the elements and is analogous to the Chinese notion of qi. So a parallel notion in China is qi, the prana, the life which we have. As Swami Vishnu Devanand, a yogi and expert, put it, prana is in the air, but is not the oxygen. So it's not the oxygen, prana is not oxygen. Prana is in the air, but it's not oxygen, nor any of its chemical constituents. So all that comprises prana is in all of them put together, not in any one single one of them. It is in food, in water, and in the sunlight. Yet it is not vitamin, it is not heat or light rays, food, water, air, etc. These are only the media through which the prana flows. So, prana is air, prana is everything, but these are only the media, the instruments, you can say, or the channels through which prana flows. In Ayurveda, there are 5 basic elements that contain prana: earth, water, fire, air, and ether. These elements interact and are further organized in the human body as 3 primary categories or basic physiological principles in the body that govern all bodily process known as the doshas. So these 3 main categories or these elements as categories. So these 3 categories are what makes the body work in a particular way. It gives us our temperament, it gives us our character, it gives us our nature, and how our body functions, etc. So the basic physiological principles with our life is our nature is physical nature, mental nature, emotional nature, all that. So, for these different elements, the 5 elements which they mention are organized into 3 categories. Okay? And how do these categories form? By the combination, as we shall see. And these 3 categories govern who we are, what we are, how we are. These are known as, and they govern all body processes, and they are known as the doshas. Okay, they are called doshas. The 3 doshas are vata, pitta, and kapha. Each individual has a unique blend of these 3 doshas. So each of us has got a blend of them, not any one single one of them. And the blend also, each individual has a unique blend of the 3 doshas, and that blend is known as the person's prakriti. Prakriti is nature, one's nature, which is the reason why Ayurvedic treatment is always personalized. So it's not a blanket treatment, colds, this is medicine. No, it depends on what your body is made of, and to see whether that has gone up and down or sort of not quite aligned, and therefore study each one and the elements, the combination of these doshas in each individual person. It's not a general thing. For this, you take that. For that head disease, you take that. No. For each one, it may be a little different. In Ayurveda, illness is regarded as a state of imbalance in one or more of a person's doshas. Therefore, for them, sickness means the balance which is meant to be in each one is somehow become upset, and that's why there is sickness. So to try to regain or recover that balance, that is the purpose of their medicine. Okay, it's more in one or more of the person's doshas, and an Ayurvedic physician works to adjust and balance them through a variety of methods. The Vata dosha is associated with air and ether, and in the body promotes in movement agility. So this Vata dosha is a combination of those two elements, and it affects our body, agility, how well we move, how smoothly we move, how much we can we move. Vata people are typically thin and light physically, dry skinned, very energetic, and mentally restless. So their body is very active, and mentally also very active, so they are restless. They don't rest. When Vata is out of balance, there are often nervous problems, hyperactivity, overactive, sleeplessness. They can't get sleep, their mind is also restless. So that's a sleeplessness. Lower back pains and headaches. Because they are restless, the back pains, and because they are restless, again, the mind also has headaches. So that's the first category, Vata. The next, Pitta dosha, is associated with fire and water. In the body, it is responsible for metabolic processes and digestion. Pitta characteristics are medium-built bodies, fair skin, strong digestion, and good mental concentration. So this combination which is Pitta, these are the qualities it brings in people. So when a person has a certain temperament or restless, it's not because something wrong with them. That is his ability, you can say. Pitta imbalances show up in anger and aggression and stress-related conditions like gastritis, ulcers, liver problems, and hypertension. So when they are imbalanced, these are the sicknesses that result. The Kapha dosha is associated with water and earth. People characterized as Kapha are generally large or heavy with more oily complexions. They tend to be slow, calm, and peaceful. Kapha disorders manifest emotionally as greed and possessiveness. So that is the sort of, we can say, the characteristics of Kapha people. And physically, as obesity, fatigue, bronchitis, and sinus problems. So because of the combination, they have certain characteristics, and when this combination gets upset, there's an imbalance between the combination, then these are the diseases or sicknesses that they suffer from or tend to suffer from. So this is one short essay on the different, how Ayurveda looks at our bodies and the three different characteristics that they have portrayed here in people, the basic temperament, and what happens when there's an imbalance of those elements. Now there's an example here for you of what note making is. Now let's complete the following diagram that represents prana and its elements. So let's read this and you will fill in the empty boxes. You have to look each time at the different category that is mentioned and then write according to what is mentioned, whether they're characteristics or imbalance. Let's go through it. You will do the writing. Earth, what are the five elements for? Earth is one, then you think of the next. Earth, fire, air, and ether. So see what is missing and you write that. Then the bodily processes. There are three doshas. So the doshas are given there. Vata, Pitta, Kapha. Now, what are the elements these doshas are connected with? There's air and ether. The next one we have to fill in. And the third is water and earth. Then the different characteristics are mentioned. For a Vata personality, the characteristics are thin and light physically, dry skinned, energetic, mentally restless. For the Pitta person, it is medium built bodies, fair skin, strong digestion, good mental concentration. Now, what are the characteristics of a Kapha person? You look in the earlier page and fill in that. Then the imbalance, what is the result of an imbalance in the elements in each person? Vata is left for you to fill in. The second one, Pitta, the imbalance results in anger, aggression, stress-related conditions, gastritis, ulcers, liver problems, hypertension. So to know for kapha, that associated with water and earth, the characteristics, you have to fill in all the characteristics of them. That again is given to you on the previous page. And what is the effect of imbalance? Manifests emotionally, greed, possessiveness, physically as obesity, fatigue, bronchitis, and sinus problems. So they have all problems more. Now the same thing which is in this box on this big chart here can be put in a different way in the next box below that, which is given there. The doshas are given on the left, then associated with which elements, then the characteristics. You can choose one or two and put in the boxes, then the imbalances. Again, for each of them, they've given one example, and you have to fill in the rest. Now, what you can do is read. For this, you will do at home. Let's read, if possible, the next one. I'm only going to read it for you, and then you will have to do the note making, which is on the next page. And they give the diagram or the format with which to make it. Okay, self-medication, medical prescribing, that's diagnosis, technological advancements, etc. So that you will do afterwards at home also. Let's read this quickly. Occasional self-medication has always been part of normal living. The making and selling of drugs has a long history and is closely linked, like medical practice itself, with beliefs and magic. Only during the last 100 years or so, the development of scientific techniques made diagnosis possible. The doctor is now able to follow up the correct diagnosis of many illnesses with specific treatment of their causes. In many cases, illnesses of which the treatment is of the causes remain unknown, he is still limited, like the unqualified prescriber, to the treatment of symptoms. The doctor is trained to decide when to treat symptoms only and when to attack the cause. This is the essential difference between medical prescribing and self-medication. The advancement in technology has brought about much progress in some fields of medicine, including the development of scientific drug therapy. In many countries, public health organization is improving and people's nutritional standards have risen. Parallel with such beneficial trends are two which have an adverse effect. One is the use of high-pressure advertising by the pharmaceutical industry, which has tended to influence both patients and doctors and has led to the overuse of drugs generally. The second or the other is the emergence of eating insufficiently, excessive smoking and drinking. People with disorders are rising from faulty habits such as these, as well as from unhappy human relationships, often resort to self-medication, and so add to the taking of pharmaceuticals to the list. Advertisers go to great lengths to catch this market. People are unhappy, worried, not keeping well, and try to sell their drugs to them. Clever advertising aimed at chronic sufferers who will try anything because doctors have not been able to cure them can induce such faith in a preparation, particularly if cheaply priced, that will produce, by suggestion, a very real effect in some people. Advertisements are also aimed at people suffering from mild complaints, such as simple cold or coughs, which clear up by themselves within a short time. These are the main reasons why laxatives, indigestion remedies, painkillers, cough mixtures, tonics, vitamin and iron tablets, nose drops, ointments, and many other preparations are found in quantity in many households. It is doubtful whether taking these things ever improves a person's health. It may even make it worse. Worse, because the preparation may contain unsuitable ingredients. Worse, because the taker may become dependent on them. Worse, because they might be taken in excess. Worse, because they may cause poisoning. And worst of all,